In 2010, a series of 11 murders shook Guwahati, Assam. It was the modus operandi that shocked the people. The serial killer in Guwahati had smashed the heads of pavement dwellers using a heavy stone. It reminded the people of the ghastly murders that had shaken Bombay and Calcutta 24 years before. Was a Stoneman back to strike terror in the hearts again? The killer first appeared in Bombay between 1985 and 1987, during which time he murdered 12 people. There was a hiatus of 2 years before killings resumed in 1989 in Calcutta, 2050 kilometers away from Bombay. Bombay, 1985. At around 4 am, the shriek of a woman from a pavement near Gandhi Market at King's Circle pierced through the silence of dawn. She had woken up to find, a few feet away from her, a bloody mess. A man's head had been smashed in by a heavy stone. This first incident would be written off as a murder by an unknown assailant, probably a thief who had alerted the sleeping victim and then killed him to escape. However, another pavement dweller was found dead with his head smashed in by a boulder, and another, and one more, till there were 5 deaths. The modus operandi was simple. The killer chose his victims from among the pavement dwellers, especially those who slept alone, far away from a group. The killer would crush the victim's head with a single boulder weighing as much as 30 kg. In most cases, the victims did not have relatives or associates to identify them. It was only after the 6th murder that Bombay police finally began to see a pattern in these crimes. The investigation revealed that the killer was operating with a radius of 5 km between Sion and King's Circle. The postmortems and the discoveries of the corpse led the conclusion that the killer hunted between 11 pm and 4 am in the morning. But there were no eyewitnesses. The press gave the killer its moniker, Patthar Maar, or as you say in English, the Stone Killer. Bombay residents went into a state of panic. In the night, the streets would become deserted by 10 o'clock. Meanwhile, the homeless and the pavement dwellers feared for their lives. Despite these measures, the killing still continued. It wasn't like finding a needle in a haystack. The radius of 5 km is not so difficult to cover and patrol. The police knew the killer's hunting ground. Teams were positioned through the night in hope for catching the killer. And yet, he outsmarted the police, picking off one homeless person after the another, as if he were watching them from the dark alleys and waiting for them to fall asleep. The cops were amazed by the size and weight of the boulders, and to make things worse, no fingerprints were found on them. With panic came the rumors. One theory was that the killer was being guided by a tantric to attain spiritual goals, and that each killing was an act of human sacrifice to please goddess Kali. This theory was also fueled by the realization that the killings took place on Tuesdays and Saturdays, the 2 days of the week ruled by the gods Mangal and Shani. Soon a breakthrough emerged when a waiter of a small Udupi restaurant was admitted to a hospital at Sion with a head wound. He slept on the pavement, and he had missed being bulldozed to a death by few centimeters. He had opened his eyes to see a man standing above him with a stone in his hand. As the man dropped the stone, the waiter had moved sideways to avoid being killed, but a part of the boulder had struck the side of his head. The police decided to activate its network of informants or khabris, as one day an informant mentioned Muhammad, a taxi driver who drove only at night and whom the pavement dwellers described as dangerous, evil and lurking in the shadows. Suddenly it all made sense. A killer could not possibly walk around these streets with a heavy boulder. It seemed plausible that he would carry it in his taxi. It turned out that the taxi driver in question was actually a police informant who had been told to keep his eyes open at night. Because of his constant patrolling of the streets, the pavement dwellers had begun to view him suspiciously. As a result, again, all hope was lost. But just over a year after the killing stopped in Bombay, The first Stoneman murder was reported in Calcutta. To date, there has been no proof that the Bombay killings were connected to the Calcutta ones. But the uncanny similarity in the weapon, the choice of victims, and the style of execution suggested that the murderer was the same person. The killer claimed his first kill in Calcutta on June 4, 1989. The victim was a homeless, sleeping on the pavement beside the road leading up to the iconic Howrah Bridge. There was immediate panic as people connected the murder with the Patharmar of Bombay. The second murder took place on 4 July 1989. Like the Bombay killer, the Stoneman of Calcutta worked within a specific territory. His chosen hunting ground was central Calcutta and the areas adjoining the iconic Howrah Bridge. The only difference was that the killer fluctuated between using a boulder and a concrete slab. On 7 September 1989, the Stoneman claimed his 7th victim, and due to the ensuing public outcry and panic, the police were forced to take notice and strict action. What was audacious was that the killer had chosen to kill his victim with just a block from the police headquarters in blatant defiance. The city of joy transformed into a city of panic. The only conclusion Calcutta police made was that the killer had to be a tall, muscular man, as it was quite evident that a lot of physical strength was required to lift the heavy stones and slabs. Policemen swarmed the central part of the city, believing the Stoneman must be mentally ill. Calcutta police zeroed in only on suspects who seemed lunatic or mad, leading to 3 false confessions. When the dragnet failed to pick up anything, cops began disguising themselves as pavement dwellers, pretending to be asleep on roads, wrapped tightly in thin blankets that hid their guns. And just like in Bombay, people began to construct images of the killer inside their heads. A rumor spread that the cops could not catch him as they're looking for a man while the killer was a woman. The killing stopped after the murder of the 12th victim. And finally, the city of Calcutta breathed a sigh of relief. To date, it is unknown whether the murders were work of a single man or a woman or a large group of people. And the years between 1985 and 1989 are officially considered to be the years of the Stoneman section. The Stoneman murders of Bombay and Calcutta rank among the most elusive unsolved serial killer cases in the world. Who knows that the Stoneman could still be lurking among us, old, senile, but waiting to strike again.